Okay, welcome to the OK Podcast Season 2, and today, this very special man, I've been trying to get him on for a while, you know. He's a very busy man, but I've finally been able to get him on. Please, Dan, please introduce yourself to the lovely people of YouTube.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I'm 25 years old, and I enjoy working in finance. I enjoy working around finance.
Okay.
And I just enjoy being myself and living a good life.
Nice. Yep, I can tell you for a fact that has always been Dan. And I've known Dan for a long time. And he's kind of been someone that's also followed a similar path on his financial journey. But let me not speak for you. I just want to hear what actually got you started on your personal financial journey.
So, I actually still remember the first conversation I had. It was with my mum and dad, and we were at home. And obviously, as a kid, a lot of people they want to do something in sport, especially in the UK. You want to be a footballer, or you want to do this, or you want to do that. So I was having a conversation with my parents, and obviously it was just after I think one of my parents' evenings. I think it was in year 10 or something, like year 9 or year 10, and I used to get into a lot of trouble. So my dad and my mum sat me down and they asked me, Daniel, if we're talking seriously. At the time, I wanted to play football, and that's all I cared about. And they asked me, seriously, what can you see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years' time? What do you think you're good at? And what do you think you enjoy? And after a load of back and forth, you know how it gets with Nigerian parents a lot of the time.
Oh, trust me, I know.
I said to myself, there's one thing I want to make sure that I do. Regardless of what I do, I want to make sure that I can handle my finances in any situation. Because in a lot of situations, I see there's people who make loads of money. There's people who can make an abundance of fortune. An abundance. And you see it with a lot of Premier League footballers these days, where they earn lots and lots of money over a short period of time. They don't know how to manage it. They don't know what to do. And then it gets to the point when you retire, and how many of those same people you see as pundits or doing TV, radio and talk shows, really in reality, the money that you make in that short window should be able to last you for several lifetimes. And I thought to myself at one point, I thought to myself, I don't know what I want to do, but as long as I can get that side of my life in check, because at the time I was terrible with budgeting. I wasn't terrible with numbers, but budgeting, sort of the active part of finance, not so much the maths, but the activities like budgeting, forecasting, cash flow, etc. So I kind of made that my starting goal. And then from there, it kind of just kept escalating and escalating. When I was at A-levels, I did maths, I did economics, I did business. The three tied in quite well. I looked at uni. I was looking at courses that I wanted to do, courses that I thought I'd be good at. I looked at accounting. I said, I enjoyed economics when I was at A-level. I was good at maths at A-level. I enjoyed business at A-level. I put the three together and I thought accounting seems like a good path for me, you know. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward, obviously, I went to uni, I enjoyed the course, got my degree. And it kicked off from there. I got my first sort of role was in finance. All my roles really, full-time roles have been in finance. So my first role was just as a finance assistant on AP and AR. I was working for like a dementia care company. I've never really worked in practice in terms of accounting, because with accounting, obviously, there's the commercial side and there's sort of practice. I've never really been too interested in the practice because that's just pure accounting. And a lot of that doesn't take my fancy. I kind of enjoy working where I can apply my skills into a different industry and it still has that finance aspect. But then at the same time, you've kind of got the business, you've got an industry that you can get into. Because that kind of works into what I do right now. Because I'm still a finance assistant, again, part qualified accountant, finance assistant for the European Tour Productions. I'm based up in West London. And why I find that a niche is because the company I work for, we do sports production and talent management. Okay. And obviously from what I've been saying from the beginning, I'm a big fan. I've got lots of passion for sports. So it came to the point where I saw the two. I saw the sports and TV and production. And then there's the finance side, the accounting, APAR, tax, etc. And you put the two together and I feel that along that journey, I kind of got to a place where I'm happy with myself so far. And that's kind of just the journey for me in finance,
Damn.
and just from an educational standpoint into work, I'd say.
No, you've touched on so many different things that I just kind of want to go into, because to me, like, maybe it's the similar households that we've kind of grown up in. For anyone watching that is just new to my content, I am also Nigerian as well. So it's a very common thing that you have some kind of talk with your parents and you're just like, okay, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do with your life? And it's very common in the African community that you're going to chase the money one way or another. I think that's what we have in common with the Asian community. It's like, oh, so you're going to be a doctor, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Or an accountant or a lawyer.
Exactly. Like, you don't really have any kind of choice in that. But so it's very interesting seeing somebody else now that has also kind of somewhat planned out the trajectory that they wanted to go in. Because, like, with me now, I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted money. So I was like, okay, let me just do a very let me get a sought after degree that I would be able to do a lot of different things with. That's why I chose computer systems engineering. And you've touched on another really great point. Like, now, all these people that we see, like the footballers, like just musicians, loads of people that earn like this quick money fast. But then you look at them later in life. I remember hearing all these stories, like even back in the day, Michael Jackson nearly going broke. Like, do you know how much money this man had at like certain points? Then you've got like 50 Cent going broke. All these people that have so much money, and you're like, how does this happen? How does this happen? Like you said,
it genuinely is a complete mystery, because you think to yourself, I still remember watching videos of Michael Jackson going for an antique shop and picking every single item and saying, I want that.
I think we watched the same thing.
I want that.
I bought that.
You bought that? The globe?
Yeah. Bought these. Bought this one.
About midnight.
This one. I bought this table. This chess set. Isn't it beautiful, this set?
Your chess set in your library is...
No, this one's bigger.
This
one's bigger. I bought this one, right?
Is this yours?
Yeah, that's the soul sign mean it's for me.
Okay, how much is that one?
Did we ever get this one, these ones?
It's only 89,000.
Okay, did we get those?
I don't believe
I like those. Why don't we order those?
Right.
Yeah, I like those.
Have you got enough space for all of this,
Yeah,
Michael?
I do.
You've got space?
Yeah.
Well,
we
in
bought
the house in
these.
Neverland, or?
No, this would be for another house.
Oh, for another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We bought these, right? And these.
Yes.
And these.
You like your urns, don't you?
Yeah. And these we bought.
Yes.
And these.
Yes.
This table.
Yes.
These. Right?
Yes.
Look at these big blue ones. Look how beautiful these are. These, right?
Oh, my goodness.
These.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a look at these ones.
They're beautiful.
Oh, that's only 275,000 each. So that's $500,000 for those two.
But he's going to give us a good deal.
That doesn't matter to you. Is he going to give you a good... He needs to give you a good deal.
He loves to bargain. Celebrities like bargains, too. Let me show you.
And we're happy to give it to you.
And he was just picking it up. And I think to myself, to have that kind of money, you have to be set for life. And I'm talking your life. If I could say, for example, if I retired today, can my parents, can they get up and leave their jobs and never have to work again? Can my kids never have to work again? Do I have my brothers? If I don't have any sisters, but my brothers, would they ever have to work again? In that kind of scenario, that's where it's so important to have financial literacy. And it's not even advanced financial. We're not asking you to do Forex. We're not asking you to go and be crypto expert of the year. We're not asking for any of that. It's all about just the basics. Can I plan how much money I'm going to spend this month? Do I know what's coming into my account this month? Do I know what's coming out? Do I have the basic skills, the basic knowledge to be able to function in day-to-day life? And that's all it is.
Yeah. See, and man, you're just saying so many things that just make a lot of sense. And through my time doing what I've done, like, again, I've taken the year off to just kind of purely try and focus on this aspect of my life, just kind of growing the channel with OK Investing and loads of other ventures. But I've gotten so many beginners come up to me, which I'm grateful for. And guys, still do tune in. Here's my Instagram link. Reach out if you can. I'm not going to bite you. But so many people just really afraid of starting and just really have so many misconceptions about what it takes. It really isn't hard, guys. If you have a certain income, provided that you aren't heavily in debt, you know, once you work out and you budget, like Dan is saying, it starts off in little steps. Just, have I planned out my expenses this month? You know, have I optimized my expenses? This is how you can start to get a tiny bit better, you know. And then what if you realize that you've got some money spare? Where is the best place for my money? And it is not the bank.
That's
you know
there
what I mean?
we go.
Yeah,
there
you
we
just
go. I'm
need
happy
to
you said
realize this. You know, and I feel like it really doesn't take long. Like in so many problems are happening today. And I feel like today we are, well, if provided that you live in the right place, loads of people are connected to the internet. You know, we have so many resources for learning, but so few people take advantage of it. You know, there's really not that much to it when it comes to investing. Even if you want to do it passively, you don't have to research loads of different companies like we may do. You know, you can invest passively, just put a certain amount in the S&P 500 every month, or you've got all these like robot are they robot traders? Yeah, that kind of automatically invest for you.
Yeah, so like the auto investors, yeah.
Auto investors, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you know, so there's so many ways to make this thing easy for you guys. So especially if you're younger, you really have no excuse, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but yeah, I was just gonna say, so in what you're doing now, and yeah, with what you're doing now, are there any useful tips that you've kind of studied for that you think other people would find really useful?
If we're talking in terms of, let me keep it quite general, because I don't want to go into too much nitty gritty. I don't want to go into too much detail. But if you don't know, ask. That's number one. I always feel that, and especially in the role that I work in, I don't know everything about everything that I do. I'll be very honest. I've been working where I work for 2.5 years, and at the same time, there's still things that pop up in my day-to-day life where I'm like, what am I doing? I've got no idea. I've never done this before. As far as you can take your own critical thinking, because that always has to be number one. When you're trying to do something, the first thing you do is you plan out in your head, what do I know? What can I apply from my knowledge into the situation in order to solve it? When you get to that first stumbling block, when you're not sure, or when you've got questions, or there's loopholes, I feel that it's so important to necessarily put your pride aside and ask questions. And I get it, a lot of the times when people ask questions and you feel that you're asking someone a similar question more than once, or you feel like you're being annoying, make the most of that asset, because the asset is not going to be there forever. It's like a wasting chattel in tax. It's got a short life. It's getting written down every year. Make the most of it, because it may not be there next week or next month or next year. Use the resources that are there for you. Use the help. Ask someone if you're not sure. Oh, I'm not sure about this stock. I'm not sure about this. Get your peers. Is there someone that you speak to who works on that kind of topic? Or do your parents have the knowledge on something? Or is it your friend? Or is it anyone? I always say first and foremost, just ask questions, because you'll never know.
That's a really good point. Yeah, no, that's an amazing point. And I just want to shout out two people that I know have definitely done that. So one, Simi, and two, Kayana. Like, these are people that have reached out to me. And
is that Simi?
Like,
yes. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I think that was like one person that I know, actually.
Like amazing. Like honestly, I have to really commend it. She's going to be on the podcast as well.
Oh, really?
So you guys look out for that. Yeah. I invited her on and she said she wants to do it.
I cannot wait to hear that one. It's been a long time.
But yeah.
She'd have known me from uni days, so she knows exactly how we go, exactly how we roll. No, it's been a while.
But that's really good. But like I was saying, it's just, I've onboarded so many different types of people into investing, and kind of like with my tuition business that I do now, I'll start teaching a specific student, and kind of like a few lessons in, I kind of somewhat know how well they're going to do based off of their current attitude to learning and the approach that they take to the lessons. Now, it's funny because I found a very similar thing with investing now. There's the people that jump onto investing now when there's some kind of craze going on, which I understand, and it makes sense because that's when a lot more eyes will be on the stock market or these different types of like investment platforms. But it's also the big differentiator is the people that constantly ask me questions. You know, like we'll be doing something and will go out of their way to, you know, just like, oh, I'm confused about this, or what does this mean? Because it shows that they're consistently thinking about it, you know, and I feel like that is a very good point. You know, when you are stuck, there's always someone out there that can help you, and I'm trying to be that person for a lot of people. Like Dan says, I don't know everything, but guys, you are not being annoying. I cannot stress this enough. I can have bad days when I look on my Instagram or my Discord or whatever, and I see someone's asked me a question. I'm like, this is great, because it means that if I already know something, I can impart very useful information for you, or I can go and learn this thing now, then impart it onto you, and now that helps both of us and any future person that may ask me the same question. So guys, please, like, really do reach out, and it's good for everyone. It really is. But yeah, so like now, with that kind of being said, a very kind of similar thing, which I don't think enough people do. And guys, I'm just gonna say this saying, which everyone hears a lot: your network is your net worth. I'm just gonna say it again: your network is your net worth. I was saying to Dan the other day, we need to have some kind of valuable lessons. We need to create some kind of group where we need to create some kind of group where we kind of go over like a little round table. Maybe it's like weekly, you know, everyone that's in it kind of discusses what they're working on. Like, you don't have to be creatives like me, even if you're in the like normal workforce. Like, how's your job going? Do you know what things are you working towards? Is your job paying for any qualifications? Or like Dan now, like, are you working towards something to better yourself? Even if you're not, okay, cool, let's start to talk about that, because your current position now should not be the current position that you're in like in 10 years time. Do you know what I mean? So how are you actually working towards this, and just having these accountability groups? And I don't think enough people do that, you know. So like, Dan, I just wanted to get your idea and your thoughts on that whole idea of like creating these friendship groups now that are like for investing or for like just leveling yourself up.
I think it's so important, purely and simply because there are only 24 hours in the day. There's only so much time you as an individual have to look at certain things in life. You can allot a certain amount of time to sleep, a certain amount of time to, if you're working a 9 to 5, a certain amount of time if you exercise or if you do extracurricular activities. That means you only have a certain amount of time to look at the things that may matter to you in terms of what you're doing in your own personal progress. Because if you remember in primary school, a lot of times in primary school we had what was called reflection time. And reflection time is kind of like a period in which you summarize, what have I done today? What have I learned today? Have I done it well? Do I need to practice more? And I feel that accountability groups provide you with the space and time to not only be able to go over things that you're not sure that you've been able to do in the period of time, or things that you're doing or stages that you're at in life, but it also allows you to see where other people that you're working with or working towards, what they're doing. And it allows you not only to get a perspective of what they're doing as maybe a way of, I wouldn't say comparing, because I don't like to compare. I like to gain motivation from people. So it gives you a chance to get motivation, see what other people are doing. And then it also allows you to learn different things about what they're doing, so that maybe if there's an area where you two can synergize, then it can work. Because I always 100%. Say to myself, teamwork makes the dream work. If you can find someone who's good at what you do, and there's something that they can learn from you or you can learn from them, why not team up? Why not put your resources together and see what's happening? You see Dragon's Den all the time. You see an individual coming on. An individual's coming on. Why? Not because he can do it himself, because if he could, he wouldn't be there. He's come on for not just, like, say, for example, in Dragon's Den, not just the dragon's money, but the dragon's expertise. That's the important part, because people think they're just going to throw money at him and let them do what they want. That's not what it is. You see it on The Apprentice. Alan Sugar, he doesn't just work with someone who is good at what they do. He works with someone they like. He likes as well. And what does he do? He provides them not only with the capital to be able to start up their businesses, but the knowledge. He gives them the people he's worked with, and he certifies and he says these are people who know what they're talking about. And he adds them to your list. He adds that to your repertoire, and you can build and you can grow. And I feel it's the exact same, albeit without the investment. Albeit the £250,000 investment would be fantastic. If any of my friends are listening, want to give me £250, I'm all here. But really and truly, it's all about the knowledge that you can share, being selfless with your knowledge. Because if you build a strong and smart friendship group or peer group or whatever you want to call it, if you are sharing your resources, all of you grow. The group grows. When one person wins, everyone wins. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
That's kind of my thoughts on the whole purpose of accountability groups.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and again, it just makes so much sense to me that I wish more people were just kind of doing it. And guys, if you don't have people like that in your, because I was thinking like this for the longest time until, like, you know, I was like, you if you don't have these kind of people around you, you have to just seek them out. You know, there's so
100%.
many different ways that you can find people like this, even when you don't have them in your life. Like, for example, now Discord has loads of different groups now that you can try to find like-minded people. Look on different forums, maybe use Reddit, you know, just start to try and connect with other like-minded individuals so then you can learn more. You know, in the last conversation that I had with Ben from the Smart Finance page, you know, there's this kind of horrible saying that, if you aren't if you aren't learning something from your group, then you're in the wrong group. And I wouldn't like that. There's many aspects of that are true. So, you know, you just need to, like, doesn't mean that you need to cut off people that aren't helping you develop, but at the same time, you know, the people around you do have a big influence on you, you know, at times. So if you can find other like-minded people that also have the same goals of, like, just moving forward, the likelihood is that you'll also move forward too. And just, guys, I cannot tell you how many interesting and unique people that I've personally spoken to this year, just, you know, just talking to random people on Instagram, like watching someone's YouTube video, just messaging them like, oh man, I think you're cool, you know, we should talk sometime, and blah blah, and just actually networking. Because you know, you've got stuff like LinkedIn, and I feel like LinkedIn has very limited ways of, like, actually reaching out to people and actually working with someone. If you're lucky enough to already know people, like I know Dan, you know, like, just reach out to people and just try to make those actual connections. And don't go into something thinking about what can you get. How valuable are you? What value do you have for this person? If at the moment you think you've got very little value, then, like we said, level yourself up. Get to the point now where you are useful to somebody else. And you know, it just works. Like, you'll synergize so well.
Honestly,
you know?
and not only that, but I feel I had a thought just then, and it's just escaped my mind.
No worries.
If it comes back, it comes back. If it doesn't, c'est la vie.
No worries. But kind of on a similar thread to this, in my very first podcast that I did with Natasha, who will hopefully be on again, we talked about generational wealth, especially amongst the Black community. This is something that is so prevalent, do you know? And like I said, and like we said on that podcast, everyone wants it, but no one wants to be the one to start it. And man, like, I've been in some clubhouses, like, with the boys in the stock movers group, and just some of the conversations that we've had about, like, our parents and, like, the way that they think about certain things, man. I cannot tell you how many just discussions, let's put it that way, that I've had about wealth and, like, how things are supposed to go on. Because I think both of our parents, you know, will come from a very similar background where they're more looking at it from the survival aspect. And, like, now, even when it comes to something as simple as rent now, where I'm like, Mom, Dad, I understand that you can't give me a bunch of money to help with, like, a house payment, or I've never really looked at you to help for, just any kind of payment, I'm going to try and work and do it myself, because I understand that you have limited resources to be able to do that. But there's things that you do have, and especially when you guys have complained about certain other races being ahead, then there's this one thing that you can do, and you're not particularly doing it that well. And let's not just put all the blame on our the older generation and our generation as well. There's so few of us that are like us now, that are investing, using our money wisely. Maybe their parents are helping them, but then they're going to waste their own money, like buying useless things now. So, like, what do you think about this whole generational wealth idea, and what do you think can be done to progress towards actually creating it?
I'll tell you what, and you're right when you say it works on both sides, because I'll tell you a little story. So, and this is just life. So, in my family, I'm lucky enough, my dad was someone who kind of got in early. When he came to this country, he had plenty of jobs, but one job that he still has now is he works in the police. A lot of people don't know that my dad's in the police. Yeah, crazy, right? But when my dad started out, he invested in a property. Not actually investing in like REITs, for instance, but he actually invested. He went and purchased it, not necessarily, but I think at the time the police had a discount where you could buy homes near the headquarters. The headquarters he was at were in Hendon, so you could buy houses near the headquarters. I think it was either like for long-term leasing or whatnot, but you could actually end up buying the property. So what my dad did is, at the time, he purchased this property, obviously via mortgage, but he purchased this property, and this is the first home that I lived in. And we moved out the property in 2004, 2003, December time, 2004, roundabout. We didn't sell the house, but we moved out the property. What my dad did was, and at the time I had no idea, he used the equity from that property in order to purchase the house that I live in right now. I've moved out, but I've come back because of COVID. So I'd say from about 2014 till now, myself, my dad, myself, my mum and my brother, we've not been so keen on the house. There's a lot of upkeep on the house. It's quite expensive. We rent it, but the rent's not really servicing too much of the actual debt. It's servicing the cost of the debt, which is the interest. If you don't know, if anyone who doesn't know, cost of debt simply refers to interest payments on the actual debt itself. But it was servicing the debt and it was servicing only a tiny bit of the debt, but servicing mainly the interest. So at the time, me, my mum and my brother, we were telling my dad, listen, we want to sell this property. We don't think that it's going to be a useful long-term asset to hold. My dad's in the asset holding business. I'm very, very lucky, actually, because my dad is someone who kind of has a good understanding as to what generational wealth actually means. So he was very adamant. He didn't listen to us. You know how stubborn Nigerian men can be. They don't listen. They don't care what anyone's saying. They're doing their own plan, and that's it. But the older I got, the more I started to see that, he has a point. And I'll tell you why. Because what I didn't realise at the time is, first and foremost, you already know how expensive it is to get any property in London. At all.
Yep. Any
property. Just getting your foot in the door is almost impossible, especially for our generation, because you're seeing the way that how our money has not grown by as much as the housing market.
Yep.
So this is just simple inflation. The housing market has inflated by a specific percent. However, the value of our currency, the value of the salaries we're getting, has not risen at the same rate. Therefore, it becomes harder to purchase things. So, obviously, as I said, it's difficult to get a house in London. You've got a foot in the door. Dad smartly uses equity to buy a second property. So what opportunities does that give? Not just to myself, because me thinking let's sell the house and live lavishly off the money, that's a very, very selfish viewpoint, because that's me enjoying it, and my kids will maybe enjoy a bit of it, and that's it. But now think to me this: if we can continue with this property, continue to collect rent, we can use the funds from that, albeit it's service, that little surplus that you can use to, I don't know, renovate, for instance. you can use that and you can generate value on the property.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said value, you can continue to build the rent, because the rent will increase with the value of the property.
Yep.
Properties in areas where there's high value, the rent's going to be high.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, the land rent's going to be high because the cost of owning the property is going to be high as it is. So you have to recoup via the rent.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, this could be a very, 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 very smart way for not just myself, but for people who are preceding me, to then have assets that they can build their own wealth on, and they can accumulate, and then they can pass on. And I'll tell you another thing, I didn't even realize gift relief. There are tax schemes that you can have available to you that you can use to reduce the burdens of tax on yourself and for your generation. So, for example, gift relief. So say, for example, you're gifting a property to a son or daughter. Son or daughter. Yeah, so gift relief, you're gifting away a property, but I think that has to be in a business. So say, for example, you held a rental
Don't worry,
business.
I'll look it up afterwards and have it, yeah.
Yeah. Because, sorry, I'm midway through my tax exam, so I've got all the information in me, but it's all a
No
bit public.
worries.
But there's so many different sort of avenues that you can actually use to save tax when you're passing property down from father to a son. That you could, instead of the cost of the property facing capital gains tax when you're gifting it,
Or inheritance tax. Yeah.
exactly. It's because obviously a property, if you're giving it away, is only a PET, so a potentially exempt transfer. And what happens with a potentially exempt transfer is, if it's given away, if it's gifted, you don't pay any lifetime tax on it. You only pay either death tax or pay tax on your death estate. If, however, you live past the gift for over 7 years, it becomes IHT exempt. So you only then be paying CGT. If it's, for example, your principal residence, then you will pay, I think, is it a deferred gain? No, it's an exempt gain if it's your principal residence, called private residence relief. So basically, if it's your main property that you're gifting, say for example, I own a property and I gift it to my son, the property that I've lived in my whole life, I gift it to him. What happens? Zero tax, zero capital gains. And if I don't die after 7 years, zero inheritance tax. What does that mean for my... And on top of that, what happens is with some of these reliefs, especially with gift relief, is what happens is any appreciation, you don't get taxed on it. All that happens is that deferred gain that you would have actually been paying, it is taken off of the actual cost of the asset. So it reduces the cost of the asset, so then whoever's paying the tax later down the line will have a bigger gain to be taxed on, so the tax becomes worse. But if you continue passing it down through the generations and accessing these reliefs,
I see.
no one's paying tax, and your whole family is just building generational wealth. And I think it's so important. I genuinely think it's so important.
No, that's so great, man. Like people really need to understand these things, because it's the way I see it, and I like to, just in case, because as you can see, man, Dan knows his stuff. So if you don't follow his stuff, guys, like I will personally be offended that you have to follow this man. Anything he shouts, or anything I put in the description, you have to check it out. But a kind of simplified way that I like to explain it, it's like a Monopoly board. Now, just thinking about, just maybe you're lucky and your family's already set stuff up. You know, you can't just think about how things are going to be for you. If you're planning to have kids or a family, the odds are your family's going to, or your kids are going to outlive you. Like, you know, so, and if you're having kids, I think it's only sensible to want a better life for them than you had, you know. But how is that going to happen if like I said, back to the Monopoly board, you know, every time you pass go, you collect 200, you know, and you should be kind of using that money to invest and start to place down houses, which will eventually turn into hotels, which when your player is removed from the board and you're replaced by your children, you know, they have something that they're already collecting rent, so they started the board better than you did. And this is what so many people don't think about. You know, like even with my own personal investments, I'm not just going to like, oh, my Tesla stock, like, oh, when it's finally caught on and people realize how amazing Tesla is and like blah blah. I'm not just gonna sell all of my Tesla stock and just kind of just be buying Lamborghini or buying Teslas or doing all these kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm going to most likely put that into another investment that is going to outlive me. You know what I mean? But then if I choose to have kids, they are going to start off so much better than I am, and I'm also going to teach them, because guys, people that are just born into wealth, they lose that wealth within 2 to 3 generations. If you don't have the knowledge and the financial literacy to actually understand and really respect money, it's going to leave you. You know what I mean? So it's not just about creating these wealth platforms for your future generations. It's also learning enough yourself and being able to pass on that information. You know, so there's a lot to do. There is a lot to do, but I think people kind of get overwhelmed with the idea of it, and I think, guys, if you're listening to this, the one place you can start is just educate yourself. You know, start to educate yourself, and the rest will fall in line. You know, and just don't be selfish with it. Like, it's not about the money; it's about opportunities, and it's about freedom. You know, and the more knowledge that you have, the more freedom that you can create for your family. And I don't see why you wouldn't want that. You know. But yeah, so I think another thing, especially amongst the black community, I was having this conversation the other day. It's like really big influences, and it's crazy to me because, like, obviously, like growing up in London and seeing so many like trends, I was just thinking so many of them start off with music. Like, you know, you saw like the dances, you know, like Crank That Soldier Boy, you know, like so many things that just cause waves, and I was like, why don't we have more artists, kind of like Jay-Z when he created the story of OJ, that kind of explain, in parts of that song, explain the importance of investing, creating this generational wealth and passing that down. It's like, do you think there needs to be more musicians now that don't just go around chanting Gucci Gang? You know, other artists now that portray this idea of having money but then saving it and investing it for the future? Or what other ways do you think would be able to make investing more popular amongst the younger generation?
Obviously it's difficult with investing, because investing is one of those things where and obviously you would know what instant gratification is. There is no instant gratification when it comes to investing, and I'll tell you why. Because for a lot of people, they invest for a few reasons. They invest because they want a vehicle where their money can grow. Some people just say they want an alternative to a bank account, which I don't blame you if you do. But I feel as though if we continue, let me go back to this. So if artists, obviously it's great if artists are kind of making people more aware of investing and what you can do and the vehicles that you can use in terms of investing. I feel it's a double-edged sword though, because in the instance of, say for example, it was at Meek Mill and his crypto knowledge. I think it's his crypto knowledge, or his investing crypto knowledge. And I understand there are a lot of higher profile people who want to kind of understand it and get into it, but a lot of the times you may follow a lot of what they say blindly without any kind of backing, and a lot of people can talk out their arse. So it does require a fair bit of self kind of preservation by doing your own research. But I could never say that it's a net as a whole, once taken away everything else, I can never say that it's a bad thing, because I think that if people are made more aware of investing, I think people will come under the same, they will find the same, what's the word I'm looking for? The same epiphany that myself and you have found, that there are so many better ways than just leaving your money in a savings account. And having these people tell you this, like, let me give you an example. Because I was actually looking at this on my phone.
Okay.
Say, for example, you're banking with Barclays. You put your money in an everyday savers account. It's one of those accounts, has a bit of interest. You leave it there for a year, and you get a bit of interest on your money. So you've got more money than when you left out. Okay. So in the 2020-2021 tax year, the annual return for money left in this everyday saver account was 0.01%.
My heart.
So it's not even 1%. Not even if you put £100 and you get £1. It's not £1. You get 1 penny. You get 1 penny.
Oh man.
But let's look on the flip side. Say, for instance, you decide you take that £100. I'm not going to put it in Barclays savings account. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invest it in Barclays. Do you know what happens? 2020, 2021. Yeah. If I look on my phone right now, right this second, and if I tell you the year-on-year change from Barclays stock. So this is if you put your same £100 in Barclays as a company rather than as Barclays as a vehicle for your savings.
Bank, yeah.
So in the last year, you'll see what this game is. Do you know what that says? This is in the last year. 71%.
That's crazy.
So you're telling me I invest in the company instead of putting it in their investment tool. I put £100 in that same £100 that gave you £1 penny would give you £70.
Yep.
Would give you 70. And people don't realise that. And I think the power that these influencers and these rappers, musicians, singers, songwriters, whatever, the power they have to open people's eyes to that fact. Because you've got to understand, this is how the banks make their money. The banks, when you put your money in, you're giving the money to the bank and you're getting, it's like an IOU. You've got £100, yes. I owe you £100. So all you're doing is you're giving them the money. They invest the money while they've got it. You keep the money in there 3 months, they've invested it for 3 months. They've taken a gain. Say, for example, they've taken 8%. Do you know what they've done? They've kept 7.99% and they've given you 0.01. And that's something that I don't think people really understand. Banks and these vehicles, they grow annually. They grow annually. If you do your research, you will see the way in which these companies work. They make their money using your money. But a lot of the time, if I'm saying it, no one's going to listen. Because who am I? What do I know? But if Jay-Z says it, if P. Diddy says it, if Meek Mill says it, you're listening. Your ears are open. And I welcome that. I always welcome that because you're learning. And it's for you. It's not for me. I'm not saying it for my game because I've gained this knowledge already. I don't have to share a thing. Neither do they. But they do anyway. And you can't do anything but applaud it. I relish stars with big platforms teaching people how to make more for themselves, become better people. Because with that knowledge, would you not say you're a better person? Even if you don't use
100%.
it, you're a better person for knowing, because then you can teach.
Yep.
Because those who can't, those who can do, those who can't do, teach. It just makes sense.
Yeah. No, 100%. And like that point that you made, and this is kind of like, this is where investing gets really exciting, because once you've clocked on to what Dan just said, you're like, instead of buying those shoes, how about I just buy the company that makes the shoes, and if they pay dividends, how about I invest enough in this company that the dividends that they pay me covers the shoes? Because this is what actual wealthy people do. On this part of the podcast, if you're watching it on YouTube, so audio listeners only, you have to check out the YouTube channel. I'm going to just display this graphic, and it kind of shows the different boxes between what wealthy people do and how they kind of expense the things that they need compared to normal people. You know, normal people get a job and their direct income goes straight into their liabilities, the things that they don't need. Whereas wealthy people, their income kind of goes straight into their investments, and the money that they generate from their investments will now go into other things that they possibly don't need. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like that way of thinking, the earlier that happens, the better it is for you. Because I won't lie to you, of course, especially a lot of these companies, their dividends, well, they're still better than your bank savings rate. I can tell you that for sure.
100%.
But on average, I would say it's between like let's say 2% to about 5 to 6%. So it's still, you still do need a certain amount of money to actually be being able to afford things with that dividend payments. But guys, like we were saying before, investing is not about instant gratification. It's something that you build up over a long period of time, and then after a while, you're just sitting there. You know, your investments become like a clone of you working every day. But the difference is, you now don't need to put in those hours. Yep. You've got like a clone of yourself that works 24/7, doesn't complain, doesn't get tired. You know what I mean?
And
and just generates you money.
So important. Because as much as people will say, you want to work hard, you want to do this, you want to do that to make money, a lot of the times, the best way to make money is to have your money make money while you're not doing a damn thing. Yep. You do nothing, your money is there making money. The company that you've invested in, the company that you've got an understanding of, you know what their product is, you know it's going to do well. It doesn't matter necessarily about the little short-term changes, because that happens. But if you look at a business, you see the business, you say, you know what, this business is going to do well. You look at the intangibles, and that's what it's all about. Because a lot of the time, people look at the tangibles and they think, okay, there's business here, and then you see the numbers, this and that. But a lot of people, it's like sport, and they mention this a lot in American sports, actually. It's all about the intangibles. You look at players like, I'll bring a basketball example, just so people understand, anyone who follows the NBA. There's a player called Rajon Rondo. He's a point guard. He used to play for the Los Angeles Lakers last year, and he plays for the Clippers this year. The Clippers went and bought Rajon Rondo. Do you know why? He's not the most talented basketball player. He's a good player, don't get me wrong. They didn't buy him because of what he brings in terms of his scoring or his rebounding or his assisting. They bought him because of this. They bought him because of the intangibles, the knowledge that he brings to the huddle, the playoff experience that he's had, the years that he's been playing in the league. He understands how the league works. He understands how the postseason works. That was an issue that the Los Angeles Clippers had last season. They got to the playoffs, happy days. They had a strong enough team, you'd expect it. But they fell short of the final hurdle. Why? They didn't have the leaders on the team. They didn't have people who'd been through it, who'd been and done it. It's so important to find someone who has those intangibles, those leadership skills that can help you get you over the hump. Those 100%. Intangibles are so important.
Yeah, and like a video that I want to eventually make is like the different levels of investing, and I feel like when you first start investing, it's so useful. It's so easy to just focus on the tangibles, and these are, for anyone that doesn't know, again, you can look this up, the things that you can actually measure. People look at P ratios, they focus on like growth, profitability, and all these kind of things, and that's normal. But once you start to become more of a seasoned investor and actually experience how these companies are run, not just look at the digits on your phone, I think, like Dan said, the most important thing are the intangibles, the things that you can't measure. And I think personally, as someone that's a mega fan, I will not deny it, of Tesla, I think that is the biggest thing that loads of people miss. It's what are the things that, like, okay, you've got the tangibles, and you've got all the clear metrics, but what aren't you seeing? How do all of these things work together? What are possible things that they've shown that they will possibly work towards? Do you know what I mean? And you start to, because this is why I like investing, because it makes you really think about things, and essentially it comes down to you trying to predict the future to some kind of like sense. Do you know what I mean? It's like, where is this going? Yeah, and you really need to like think about that. And just kind of going on to that same thing, it's like investing has really changed my psychology on how I look at so many different things. Like I feel like before I used to consume, like I was definitely more of a consumer. Now I look at everything, every kind of industry that I'm interested in, I look at completely differently. I'm kind of breaking down the companies, like how is this made? You know, how does this function? Oh, I wonder where this is going to go. I wonder how the board of this company thinks about this product and where it's going to go. Like has this changed? Has investing changed your psychology when it comes to different things?
Yes, it has, because it's investing has taught me to take a step back sometimes. You see a lot of numbers, and especially working within finance, you see lots of numbers. You see lots of things that can cloud your vision. Sometimes you just need to take a step back. Look at it from... Give yourself a step back, look at it from a wider view. You can see everything that's happening. And that can allow you to just be a better decision maker. At the end of the day, I just feel that sometimes you go into a lot of things with, I wouldn't say clouded judgment, but I would say you have a goal. A lot of the times when you go into something, you go in with a goal, and a lot of the times you don't shift from the goal. Being able to step back and kind of look at everything from a wider viewpoint can just allow you to find some perspective. It can allow you to think to yourself, I've been traveling on a journey to get to this destination, but you know what? On this journey, I found this, this, and this, and it's taught me that maybe I wasn't meant for this, this, and this. You alter your goal based on the journey. The journey is so important, but it's also important to take a step back. You don't see it if you don't take a step back, because you get too clouded, you get too tunnel vision.
No, 100%. Now, I just heard this really interesting quote. Success isn't a destination; it's the steps that you take towards getting towards that destination.
100%.
You know what I mean? And it's like what you just said, taking a step back. Like when I first started this year, I started it with a lot of enthusiasm, and then part of it, I did kind of fall into a bit of despair, like questioning myself, like, okay, I could be earning so much money doing this, and like working in this investment bank or doing all of this, and I started to doubt myself and all of that stuff. But I just shut that down, and I just really started to just focus and just appreciate my time. And I was like, I actually have a superpower right now. I have so much time, I can relax, and I just focus on a very important investor, Warren Buffett. Does he spend all day looking through stuff? No, he spends most of his days golfing, just chilling, relaxing, because peace of mind is one of the best things that you would ever have when it comes to making decisions. Because at the end of the day, when you're investing, you're making all these calculated decisions. Whether even if you're doing it passively, you're deciding to put your money into this vehicle now that will do it for you. Or if you're trying to research companies now, you're kind of using your own critical thinking to see how this company will go. But if you are stressed, doing all these different things, I think this is what pushes a lot of people into like kind of fast money things, like just like different types of crypto or these different kind of SPACs. If you have some kind of stress in your life and you're not properly thinking things through, it's easier to jump onto those things rather than when you're relaxed and like, I have time to properly analyze Tesla now. I can properly look into all these things, so taking a step back and just relaxing sometimes is super important, guys. So yeah, that's a very good point.
And
but yeah, man,
there is something I'd like to just touch on just very briefly. And it kind of covers a bit of what we've spoken about already. But, the saying, you teach a man to fish, you catch a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. There's a very, very important, I would say it's important. It was important to me, but there was a very, very eye-opening video that I watched. I sent it to quite a lot of my friends as soon as I heard it. And I said, a lot of the time, your parents can only take you as far as how far they've gone. If you continue asking your parents for advice on the certain things that they've done, they'll only be able to advise you as far as they've gone, and they will get you to exactly where they are. I feel when you're gaining all of this knowledge and all this wisdom or whatever, it's so, so, so important to not just keep it to yourself, but to teach them as well. It's not just to build a bridge and to cross, but it's also to build them a bridge so they can also cross. Because at the same time, you think to yourself, if they didn't have this knowledge, and you now have this knowledge, who am I to deny them of an ability to gain this knowledge or to help them? Because at the same time, they may not understand where you're coming from or the methods to your own madness. I'll tell you what. Because I put my parents onto investing, I'd say about 3 months after I started. And I didn't start as soon as I saw it. I looked into it, I did a bit of revision, I built my capital before starting. Because I'd say I started looking into investing. I haven't even been doing this very long, I'll be very honest with you. I started looking into it at the end of 2019. And then I started investing luckily enough, in April 2020. Obviously, you know what was
Good
happening
time.
around March, April 2020. So
Yeah.
that was very helpful for my own gains. But I was doing all of this research, and I thought to myself, do my parents know about this? How do my parents save money? How do your parents save money? If you're watching this or you're listening to this, how do your parents save their money? How did they build their wealth? How did they increase their reserves? If you don't know, ask. Because I asked my parents, and they just said my money's in a savings account. Do you know what I did?
Yeah.
I told them there might possibly be a better way. I mean, we're not even going to the area of things like gilts, government bonds, corporate bonds. We're not even going to those sort of fixed interest type of saving schemes. We're talking about investing. And I decided to put them on. I put my brother on, I put my mum on, I put my dad on. I manage my dad's and my mum's investment accounts. But at the same time, I teach them what I'm doing. I won't just do it for them. I'll do it with them so they learn. Both my mum and my dad have made... My dad came to me about 3 months after he started. He says, I've made more money from this than I had in saving in 20 years from interest. I made him more money in 3 months than he'd made in 20 years of investing. Purely because of interest rates. Purely because I'd found this well of knowledge, and instead of me saying, no, let me enjoy this well of knowledge, I said, let everybody enjoy this well of knowledge. Because it's going to make everybody better. And if everybody around your circle is better, you elevate with the circle. The circle is a platform that you all stand on. I'm only in this house because my parents have done something that have allowed me to be here. They have invested 100%. In a way that has allowed me to be in a property here. And my goal is so that when my kids are their age, they will probably have no idea. But I want to work so that I want to work hard and work smart so that they have a better platform and they don't have to be asking themselves silly questions like, oh, when's the next meal coming? When's this happening? When's that happening? I want to set my kids up for life, and I want to set my parents up so they don't have to worry so much about the savings. Because again, you touched on the fact that it's very difficult for Nigerians to build any kind of wealth. You know, there was a statistic, I think it was 70% of people in, I think it was the UK or something like that, don't even have £1,000 in savings. There's a ridiculous statistic, I can't remember off the top of my head. But there's a large
very
amount
similar
of people
to that.
who've never had at least £1,000 in their savings, or don't have £1,000 in their savings. My mum was one of those people. She was never amazing with something. I love my mum to bits, love her to death, but she was never very good at it. Just 2 months ago, my mum's saved her first £1,000 that she's ever saved in her entire life. Her first.
That's great.
Ever. And I tell you what, that brings me so much happiness because it's because someone I love and I care about so much. And it's just brought her so much personal happiness. She says it to me all the time. It just brings her a level of peace. She's never been able to do it in her entire life. And she's finally been able to. And that's what it's all about. You doing it for yourself and then doing it for others and seeing everyone grow together. For me, that's everything. I don't have all the knowledge in the world. I will never pretend I do. But for what I do have, for the people I love, I'll give them whatever I can, any tools that they can have to succeed. And that's what I've done, and that's what I want to continue to do.
Man, honestly, that's great. I feel like there's so much more that we can say, but I don't want to go over time, and I feel like that's just such a heartwarming place to just leave it. Like, I honestly, like, in the future, man, I'm gonna have to do some rigs so you guys can see me smiling ear to ear, man. It's so good. Like you just said, this is what this is all about. This is why I made my channel. I don't want to just learn this and be that one guy that made it for himself. I learned something, and I need to raise everyone around me, because like, it just makes sense as a societal good. It just makes sense to give everyone that fishing rod. Don't just give people fish, give everyone that fishing rod so we can all grow together. So you guys, if you're watching this, do you know how you can spread that fishing rod? You can share this video, send it to other people you know, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and you have to tune into the next one. And guys, you have to check out everything that Dan shouts out. Is there anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, so
anything where the people can follow?
Yeah, a couple of things. Anyone who's into fitness, my fitness Instagram's back online, ODITAAA, ODITAAA. Go stream B Money's Zoom for number one. Obviously my boy Tiggy, he's just produced a track and it's popping. It's a big track. Go search B Money online Zoom for number one. Let's go. But apart from that, that's everything for me, man. But thank you for having me on your platform, man.
No worries, man. This has been a great conversation, and we're definitely going to have you on again. But guys, that will be it now. So it's been your boy Kay and Dan. So I will see you guys in the next one. See you later.
Blessings, guys. Peace out. Have a good afternoon. Have a good weekend.
See ya.